Hi pedal people! This year I got to try a bunch of cool new pedals. A lot of stuff came out this year that I got, and I bought some more that didn't come out this year, but they're new to me, so for this list, anything goes really, as long as I got it this year. It's super hard to narrow it down to only 5, but I limited it to 5 because I feel like it really makes me think about what's important to me and why I think they're so special. When narrowing down this list, I thought about pedals that not only sounded really good, but also pedals that I thought were especially exciting or inspiring or just unique, that I could sit for hours and play and forget the time had passed. So sound is obviously very important, but for me in a top 5 list, I thought it was important to pick based on my overall impression and enjoyment of each pedal. But that being said, I'll stop talking about this and start talking about the actual pedals because I'm really excited to share it with you. So here we go. So the first pedal here won't come as a surprise to most people who have been watching for a while. It's the Electronic Audio Experiments Halberd version 2, and I love this pedal so much. I can't really believe they've managed to shrink it down, keep the sounds all there, and also add 2 extra modes. Like, having all that in a version 2 is like everything I could have dreamt of and more for this pedal. The 2 new modes they've added, the clang mode on the top of the toggle switch cuts some bass out of the mix and boosts the treble, which I think is such a unique mode for this pedal especially, because that's something I wasn't really expecting. I associate the Halberd with more like console tweedy kind of sounds, so when I got the pedal in the mail and I was playing around with the toggle switches not knowing what they did, I flipped it up to the top and I was like, whoa, that is surprising. But it's honestly one of my favorite sounds out of the new version, especially with the neck pickup. It doesn't get muddy, and when I'm playing a lot of like busy arpeggio stuff, it's a really nice option to have as far as EQ and utility aspects go. And then the new extra gain mode they added is super cool because for me, I use pretty low output vintage voice pickups, and having the extra gain in the pedal where I don't have to stack it with another overdrive to get that out of it is really nice. I'd say like the sounds I enjoy most with the Halberd are those blown up amp kind of console-y type sounds. So to have it all contained within one pedal is pretty awesome. I'd even venture to say that I think it's slipped into one of my favorite pedals of all time. I love using it, love the way it feels. Everything about it is great. I honestly don't know how they managed to make a version 2 that is like even more awesome than what was a great pedal to begin with. And it was definitely the first pedal I thought of when I was making this list. So props to John and the EAE crew for making such a rad pedal, and I am very much enjoying this one. The next pedal is the Champion Leccy Swan Hunter, which honestly, as long as Wooly at Champion Leccy keeps making pedals, one of his pedals will probably keep making my top 5 list, because I just love the way that his pedals sound and the way he makes them sound so unique and different, but also familiar. They're just weird enough to be like interesting and experimental, but also have the like, you know, general functions of this is a reverb, this is a delay, this is an overdrive, I can use this. But yeah, the Swan Hunter is a reverb delay pedal, and it's got some cool features that set it apart from other stuff, especially the series and parallel blend control on it. You can have the reverb and delay run in series or parallel, and there's also toggle switches for how the ducking works on this pedal. You can have it not do any ducking at all. But I'm a huge fan of like doing it so that when you play hard, the reverb and delay kind of sit in the background, and then when you stop, it all swells in. I think that is so cool, like when you do a big power chord with a lot of fuzz and stuff, and then just like, palm mute it after you strum it, and it just like swells all in there. It's really cool. But honestly, my favorite feature of this pedal, which I think is very different from other things, is the momentary foot switch on the left side. Initially, I thought it was going to work like the Havoc switch on the Caroline pedals, where it ramps up your feedback and the volume, I think, or something, to make it oscillate and like create weird, crazy noises. But the way this one works, if you have the ducking things and the knobs configured in certain ways, it makes this big fuzzy wash. Like you just press it and it's got this really cool fuzzy sound that just like swells in and stays there until you release it, and that is super unique. I wish actually there was a fuzz pedal that sounded like that. It's really cool. I don't know what it's doing. Someone probably understands it better than I do, but I think that is such a cool sound, and that's very unique to this pedal. Another cool feature I like is that it's on the delay portion of the pedal. It's got two delay knobs. One that's more like your standard delay, and then another one that is like this mangled, modulated delay that reminds me a lot of how the woozy sounds. Like if the woozy is like a delay that's trying to be a chorus, this is like the woozy that's trying to really be a delay. And I think that's really cool to have that option. It's very different and makes for some unique sounds, especially when you start mixing the blending options and getting the reverb in there. It's such a cool pedal, and I just love what Wooly's doing, making these weird, cool devices. The next pedal is the Black Mass Missionary Fuzz. This is also a version 2. I never got to play the original version, but I genuinely believe that this is one of the best fuzz pedals out there. It's very versatile. I think there's a fuzz sound in there for everyone, whether you enjoy fuzz or don't enjoy fuzz. There's something in there that most people, I would say, would find enjoyable and pleasant. One of the reasons I like it so much is because it doesn't have a typical tone control. You use the three knobs, the body, the bass, and the pre-gain control to dial in how sharp or how laid back it is. And especially having that pre-gain control plus a fuzz control, you can really fine-tune like the amount of gain, how it responds to your pick attack, how it feels to play. Like roll up the pre-gain, roll down the fuzz is a different sound than rolling up the fuzz and rolling down the pre-gain. And then just diming both of them is a good time. But yeah, there's some great overdrive sounds in there. The textures are just very pleasant to listen to. This is the first year getting to try some Black Mass stuff, and I have the 1312 and the first Herald Fuzz, which I've gotten to play with a little bit, and those are really, really awesome. But this Missionary Fuzz, I made the demo of first, and I fell in love with this pedal. I just think it's a really versatile, awesome fuzz. It's just pleasing to play, pleasing to listen to, and that's just a winning combo in my book. So definitely one of my favorites. second to last pedal came as a big surprise to me. It's the Spaceman Aurora. And what's not such a big surprise is that Spaceman made a modulation pedal that is really awesome. I didn't used to consider myself a flanger person, but this is the pedal that has changed my mind. I always thought flanger was kind of an over-the-top cheesy effect, and when it wasn't doing that like very pronounced whoosh thing, if you did dial it in subtly, it was so similar to a chorus that I was like, well, why don't I just use a chorus? But the thing I really appreciate about Spaceman mod pedals in particular is that they give you so much extra control over fine-tuning the sound of the pedal, which already sounds good, like at bass settings. Like if you just want to set stuff at 12 o'clock and go, it'll sound great. But the controls they give you, I feel like, are very well thought out. For people like me, especially for flanger, it was key that it was subtle enough to be enjoyable for me to hear, but also different enough where like I wouldn't just think, hey, I could just use a chorus and it would do the same thing. But yeah, that's why I like the Aurora, is because I was able to fine tune it and tweak it just how I wanted it to not have like over the top flanger sounds, but also get something that did feel different from chorus. And it's really taught me to learn to like flanger. So I've been enjoying that aspect of it, and any pedal that can get me excited about a new effect type that I haven't given much thought to is a great thing. So that's what I really like about the Aurora and why it made my top 5 of the year. Okay, so now I'm interrupting my own video to tell you about the runner-ups because this list is so hard to make. I really struggle with picking only 5 pedals, so I just had to pick 5 more. Okay, so I'll just do like a little lightning round thing. Here we go. First up is the Fairfield Barbershop, and this is a pedal that I wanted for a really long time. I just never had the opportunity to pick one up, but I finally got one this year, and it's just as great as I'd always read about. People always said it was like the best transparent overdrive, and it just had that perfect sound to add a little bit of grit to your amp while still sounding like your amp, and I think it does that really well. I'm a huge fan of the sag control on it. Changes the feel of the drive, and also if you dime it all the way, it can get kind of heavy actually. The gain on it's pretty impressive, but I picked this one because I think it truly does live up to the hype. All Fairfield pedals do, in my experience, and even with such a cool lineup, I think even as an overdrive, the Barbershop stands up really well. It's just a really great solid overdrive that works with anything I've thrown at it. Next is the Alexander Sugar Cue, and this pedal is super great because it's not only versatile like all the Alexander pedals, but it sounds really, really good. I love how diverse the 4 modes are. It's got stereo, it's got presets, it's got a cool ramping control, but one of my favorite functions is the clock control, and you can really change how it sounds. I love it in chorus mode when you can blend it all the way wet for vibrato and then adjust the clock to sound more lo-fi. I think it's such a cool texture that you could get from other pedals, but not with the versatility that the Sugar Cube offers. You can have your hi-fi chorus and vibrato and your lo-fi chorus vibrato, plus a Dimension C mode and a rotary mode, which I think is really cool, as well as the ice mode for pitch shifting. So I think this is just a really fun, great sounding pedal, and Alexander never really disappoints. They're always doing something super cool. The next one is the Caroline Guitar Company, the Blues. I love the joke behind it. I think the knob labels are really funny. Last year, the Icarus made my runner-ups list, but I honestly think I like the Blues a little more than the Icarus. And that's saying a lot because I really do love the Icarus. but the blues has more of a fuzzy, gritty texture, which I love. It can get pretty loose and saggy, and the toggle switch is really nice because I feel like I can just flip it left or right depending on if I'm using single coils and humbuckers. It's kind of rare for me to find a drive that I like with humbuckers, but the blues sounds great with everything. P90s, humbuckers, single coils, it's all good. And yes, the blues does sound good being driven by the blues driver. The next one was so close to making my top 5s. It's the Swamp Witch Pedals Silver Birch, and it's one of those drives that I think just has a super unique sound. The higher gain stuff is fun by itself. It's got great note definition and like a really nice EQ curve to it. But I really enjoyed the lower gain sounds out of this one too with the parallel mode. It's pretty different in that way from most drives I've played, and I think it lends itself to like that unique sort of low gain sound that has like a lot of clarity, almost like a clean blend. I feel like I can use this for anything from like jangly indie stuff to like higher gain stoner rock like with a Fuzz. It's all really good. Next we have the Chase Bliss Audio Mood, and this was maybe the biggest surprise for me this year. I totally went into it blind, not really knowing what it did. I didn't watch demos, I didn't read the manual, and so I just plugged it in and had a blast. It was just super fun figuring out what everything did, and finding these wacky noises and liking settings and then changing a knob and the setting totally changed, and finding out really how much control and how little control you have at the same time of it. I feel like it hits that sweet spot where you can set it up to make sounds you want. Like if you think of them in your head, I think you can get this pedal to create those sounds, but it also does its own unique thing and enough of like unpredictable stuff that if you just want to sit down for hours and fiddle around, I feel like you could easily do that. Oddly enough, I think I prefer this pedal on bass. Not because it's not great on guitar, it obviously is, but because with bass, I'm not a bass player, so I think with that instrument I have a more open mindset and less like set ways that I do things or set ways for how I like things to sound. And with bass too, I think it's just a very pleasant way to make bass less about being in a groove or being in a pocket and more about just enjoying the sound of a stringed instrument that's different from a guitar. And the Mood is just really great for doing that kind of stuff. It's been a huge surprise and I love playing with it. And finally, we have my last pedal. This is also my most recent pedal. It's the Old Blood Noise Sunlight. The reason I love the Sunlight so much is because it really makes me play differently. I haven't had an ambient reverb in a really long time, so it forces me to let me have space between my notes, and by doing that it makes me come up with a bunch of different stuff that I wouldn't normally come up with. That, coupled with how it works with the input control and the guitar's dynamics, I think really makes it stand out. Another reason why I really like this reverb is because I think the modes are really unique and fun. My favorites are the tape and the pass modes. I love the tape because it can get really warbly and bendy. It stretches the pitch like so much, but it also has like a really cool wobbly subtle chorus effect if you turn the rate up and the depth down. I think that's a really nice sound. And the pass mode is great because I think it has like a sample and hold kind of filter on the reverb tail, and it creates these little bleeps and bloops that I think are so fun, and such a great texture to put in the background of stuff. I think this pedal is really unique and inspiring, and that coupled with how great it sounds and how it functions with the input control make it such a fun pedal for me. So I had to put this here in my top 5s because even though it is my most recent one and I'm kind of going through the honeymoon phase probably still, I just think it's such a creative, unique, inspiring pedal, and that's really the spirit of this list. So I really couldn't not put it on my list. I just have heaps of fun playing it, and I cannot wait to create more with it. And that's it. That's the 5 for this year. There's so many pedals that I could tell you about and that I really want to tell you about. But like I said, I wanted to be extra picky so that this video wouldn't be like 40 minutes long. It's probably already pretty long, but I also just want to say a genuine thank you to everyone who watches and for people who leave these really nice, amazing comments. They make my day, they really do. And the people and the builders who I've had the pleasure to work with over the last year or couple of years, doing demos and just sharing the love of guitar pedals. I really love and appreciate you guys. And in the comments, let me know what your top 5 were this year. I'd love to hear your opinions on what you thought was cool and fun and inspiring this year. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.